Cardholder Mobile Experience with Mark Savage, a solutions consultant from PSCU. I want to remind everyone that this webinar is being recorded and we will be sending out the link for this later. Today, Mark will be showing how PSCU's DX Mobile functions and how intuitive the application will be to your members. Thank you, Mark, so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Awesome. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about our DX mobile solution. And really what the design of this application is a companion app to your existing mobile solutions. When you start to think about opportunities for your members to access their credit and debit card programs, you have your existing mobile app. We consider our mobile app a card payment solution. So when you start to do things within for credit cards, this is a full service credit card application. But it also works for debit cards as well. So when you start to think about additional solutions for your debit cards, like alerts and controls, like travel notes, disputing a transaction, reporting your card lost or stolen, these are all self-service things that your members can do within our app for both credit and debit as it comes along. So if you launch the app, one of the things that I'll reference here is that you as a credit union will have total control over the look and feel of what this solution looks like. So you'll be able to change your branding. You'll be able to change your graphics. You'll have links to frequently asked questions that you can actually link to provide your members insight to the application or to your program. All of this is controlled by you. So you don't need to call the association. You don't need to call into PSCU to say, hey, can you make these graphical changes or document changes within the system? And if you wanted to make those changes, you can do that on the fly. So as we come in, the phone also, the application also has the ability to take advantage of the latest and greatest technology of your phone. So you'll notice there that I just use my facial recognition technology on my phone to log into the application. It also works with fingerprint if you have that technology as well. One of the things that we also can do to make that member experience easier is we can do a process that we call app-to-app linking. So if I'm in your existing mobile solution and I wanted to launch my card management application, you could actually click a link within your home banking. It would launch the DX mobile application, and then your member could either use their fingerprint or their facial picture to log right into the application. So it's a very easy transition from an existing application into here. That customization that I showed on the front aspect of the application continues through here as well. So any type of graphic you want in the background, any marketing messages that you want. So you'll notice down here, there's a marketing link here. I can press that and it'll actually launch or hyperlink into a marketing screen that you, as a credit union, you want to market to your members. Any messaging. So here where it says, welcome to CU first. This is also a messaging controlled by you. So if you wanted to put out a messaging, hey, branch is reopening for, after COVID, or come see our new branch on 123 Main Street, or any messaging that you want to get across to your members, you can go into that admin tool and push that message out in a real-time process. Your members also have the ability to customize or personalize the application. So meet my grandson, Marshall. When I come into the app, I don't need to see my face staring back at me, but looking at my grandson always makes me happy. So I like to come see that when I log into the application. Up here on the left, you'll see the little hamburger. You have the ability to see all your accounts. You can jump right to alerts and controls. You can log out of the application. You can view frequently asked questions, terms and conditions. So again, this is also controlled by you. So if you have an update to your terms and conditions, you can immediately push that out through the application. If you want to provide an easy way for your members to call into the credit union, all they need to do is hit contact, and through their phone technology, you can place that call. The other neat thing about this application is we're going to be able to bring in the card art for both your credit and debit card programs. So this would be the exact card that's sitting in my wallet for my credit card. If I had a debit card, I'd see my actual debit card here as well. So again, being able to visually identify the plastic or the account that I want to take a look at, we make it very easy, again, because you're actually looking at the card. Right from this home screen, I have the ability to turn my card on and off. So right now my card is off. Turn it back on. This is all real-time processing. So now my card would be back on and able to be used. Since this is a credit card, it would show my current balance. I don't have a balance on this card at the moment, but again, it would show whatever my current balance is. I have the ability for on my cards to view my rewards points. And then by touching the card, it actually brings me right into the detail. Now, the card I'm looking at here is a credit card. If this was a debit card, it would look exactly the same. The only difference is you wouldn't see that balance information. That's really the only difference between a credit card and a debit card. This information on credit is real time. So if I were to make a transaction and immediately refresh, you would see my available credit change based upon the purchase that I just made. And then you would also see a pending transaction in my transaction list. I do have the ability to filter my transactions. If I wanted to look at just pending or posted or all, I can search for transactions by just typing in either an amount or a merchant name, and it would find that particular transaction. One of the also things that I mentioned before is one of the really neat things about this application is we're trying to get your members to be able to do things in a self-serve capability. So think about all the times that your members pick up the phone and call into the credit union or call into your call centers, okay, for things that they would like to be able to do themselves. So for example, if I wanted to dispute this Amazon transaction, I could actually do that by clicking the dispute button, and it would actually walk me through the process of how to dispute that transaction. And once that member submits that dispute, it immediately comes in for us to go out and work that dispute on the behalf of your member and go out for recovery. So again, giving your members the opportunity to self-serve in disputing a transaction. On the credit card side, we also have the ability for members to be able to make payments. So they can add a funding account, they can pick their payment date, they can pick their amount. So again, we make it very simple. Payment history is pretty self-explanatory. It actually shows the payment history for that particular member for when they paid their credit card. If I click over on the More button, now we get into some of the additional features that we have.
Mark,
so one of the things that, again, yes.
Can I just ask you a question about the payment?
Sure.
If I had my account at another institution or a savings account at another institution, would I be able to make a payment and extract it from another credit union?
If that's the way you, as the credit union wants to set it up, absolutely yes. You can allow any funding source to link to pay to your credit cards. What we see, we do see a lot of institutions restricting that to only the credit union or financial institution accounts. We see that quite a bit, actually. There are some compliance things that makes it a little easier if you do what we call what we're calling that is BIN restriction. So only allowing your accounts to feed into your payments. But if you wanted to allow, let's say, a Bank of America account to link in to pay your credit card bills, absolutely yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. one of the other opportunities that members typically call into the credit union for is to do travel notes. So here, what we're enabling your members now to do is to be able to self-serve travel notifications on both their credit and debit cards. So this would work. This would look exactly the same if I was also doing this for my debit card. When am I traveling? So when am I starting? We'll say I'm going the 16th. I'm returning on the 22nd. Where am I traveling? Am I traveling domestically in the US or am I traveling internationally? And then being able to enter in your decision, your destination. Now, what we also have the ability to do is once your member clicks submit, from a fraud rules perspective, if you want us to, we actually now could take that member and put them in a special travel strategy based upon if they're traveling domestically or internationally. So this will help them as they travel to not be as impacted against a possible decline of a transaction if they, again, assuming they let us know that they're doing those transactions or leaving the country or going to particular different states outside of their typical geographic area. So let me pause there. Any questions on that self-serve capability?
Mark, hi, this is Michelle. I was just in regards to the actual breakout of the names you place there. Is this overlapping per se the fraud department tool, or does this actually, for this travel specifically, go into to open that person up for that location, or is there more backside that needs to be done, I guess, on this request?
Great question. And actually, that question is actually going to tie in to what we're going to talk about in just another moment in our alerts and controls. But let me answer that for you. So your credit union rules trump anything. So for example, even though I'm traveling to Ireland and I put that in as a travel note, if you as a credit union have turned off the country of Ireland in your fraud program, which we don't recommend you do, there's easier ways to prevent fraud in Ireland. But let's say, for example, you turned off the whole country of Ireland, or maybe you turned off the state of California. Your member putting that they're going to Ireland or California will not overwrite that fraud lockout of either that country or that state. Okay, Michelle, did that specifically answer your question in terms of it won't override that?
Yeah. And then in regards to the actual credit union, does the credit union have to come in here and notate this on their current fraud system for PSCU, or how does PSCU know to open up, I guess, this state or country?
So what'll happen is this. So again, if you as a credit union have turned off Ireland, there's nothing that we are going to do without your say-so to turn Ireland back on. Again, you as the credit union control that. So it's kind of a mix from, I think, what you're asking. So let's say, for example, you as a credit union allow transactions to happen in Ireland, okay? So you haven't shut Ireland off, but Ireland is outside of my normal transaction geographic area. So if I didn't put in a travel note and I just went to Ireland and did a transaction, there's a good chance that transaction could be declined because it's outside of my normal behavioral pattern. However, once I submit this travel note, and I tell the system that I'm going to Ireland, again, what we'll do is we'll take that member out of the normal production rules that you have set up, and we'll put them in a special travel rule set to let our system know that, yes, this member is going outside of their normal geographic area. In addition to that, if a transaction does happen in Ireland and it queues up in our system for us to reach out to that member and say, hey, are you really in Ireland? The first thing we do before we contact that member is check your travel notes. And if your member has said, yes, I am in Ireland during these dates, and the transaction happened in Ireland during those dates, then we probably in most cases will not reach out to that member or impact that member for that transaction because they told us they're going to be in Ireland.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. So the reason why I said that ties in with the next thing we're going to be talking about is this is our alerts and control package. So I always like to level set when I start talking about alerts versus a control, just to make sure we're all on the same page as to what the differences are. So an alert, we'll start talking about alerts. Alerts is the ability to have your member get notified based upon their wishes when a particular event happens on their card. So for example, I could actually do, let me do selected transactions. So I could actually say, turn on, I can turn on what's called my location. What my location does is it ties my phone and my card to an 8-mile radius. And what will happen here is if my card is used beyond an 8-mile radius of my phone, I'm going to get notified of that if I have that turned on. I also have the ability to set up locations. So what I'm saying here is a location can be a city, a state, or a zip code. If my card is used anywhere outside of these 3 areas, I will get a notification that my card was used outside of those locations. I can also set up alerts for merchant types. So I can say, all right, I want to know if my card's used at a restaurant merchant or for a travel merchant. I can come in and also do transaction types. So I want to know if my card is used online, in store, on the phone, an ATM. So I will get an email or a text based upon how I have my preferences set up anytime those transactions occur. In addition to that, I also can set up transaction alerts. So if a transaction happens above $10, I'll get an alert. Or if I spend over $1,500 in a month, I will get an alert. Any questions on alerts before I jump over to controls?
Oh, all good. Thank
All
you.
right, so let's talk about controls. Here, what a control does is it allows your member to say, I don't want my card to be used in these specific circumstances, or I only allow my card to be used here, here, or for this amount. So it's kind of different than an alert. An alert is a notification. A control is basically a permissions process. So I also have the ability to set up a control. So again, that location services. If I have that turned on, my card, if my card is used outside of that 8-mile radius, my transaction would get declined, and I would get notified that that transaction was declined because of a location services. I can also set up regions. So again, city, state, or zip code. My card can only be used in these locations: the state of Pennsylvania, the city of St. Petersburg, or the zip code of 34691. If my card is used outside of those 3 areas, my transaction would be declined. You'll notice I turned on Ireland. So again, anywhere my card, from an international standpoint, if my card is used anywhere outside of Ireland, the transaction would also be declined. So merchant types, again, I could set up different merchant types where my card can or cannot be used. I can set up transaction types where my card can or cannot be used. And also spend limits where my card can or cannot be used. Okay, so let me actually show you how this works. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. Come on. I was just in. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. I'm going to turn on my little card reader here. Okay, so Michelle, since you asked the last question, I'm going to ask you to help me out here. So if you recall, my spend limit was $10. Okay, so any transaction above $10 would be declined. So go ahead and give me a transaction amount above $10.
$12.50.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, $12.50.
Okay, so I'm going to hit charge. So I'm going to take my credit card, my card reader. Help if I put it on the right side. Do the transaction. You'll see that my transaction immediately got declined, and there's my notification that I got declined for that transaction. So it'll say, I got declined for a spend limit.
That's really
I can
fast.
immediately come back. Yeah, so one of the unique things that we've done with this service is we've actually built it directly into the off stream of the transaction. So that's why it makes it that quick. So now as a member, I can come immediately back into my application. Come into my card controls, change my dollar limit, and immediately redo that transaction. And it would be approved at that point. So I can come in here and I could either turn it off or change my dollar amount, and it would work.
And now to tie back into our conversation with Kristen regarding fraud, she said you could tell once like the credit union were to go into the Star Station or Quick Assist application, and they can tell the difference between a denial from the actual fraud department compared to a denial that a credit union member has set up on their card. So they sort of know how to be ahead of the game and know which direction to go rather than having to try to figure out which direction.
Yep. Actually, I can show you how to do that if you bear with me for just 1 second, but I'll show you that in just a moment.
Sure.
Now, the other neat thing that you can do. So, all right. So, any questions on the alerts and controls?
Oh, that's great.
Nope. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna fill you in on something about myself. I'm very lazy. I'm an extremely lazy person. Okay. If I'm trying to shop online, okay, and I'm on my phone or on my tablet or my laptop and I'm shopping and my wallet's across the house, the last thing I want to do is get up off my couch to go get my card so I can enter in my card details to buy whatever it is I'm going to buy, right?
Mark, you just described me. I make my husband get my purse.
Yeah. Well, my wife's somewhat lazy too. So she would, if I asked, hey, Beth, can you go get my wallet from my drawer? She'd say, get it yourself type of thing. So here's what we have the ability to do. So right from my phone, I can click get card details. I can get either a text message or an email, generate a one-time passcode. I get my passcode, copy it, go back into my app. And now I don't need to get up off my sofa. I have all my card details right on my phone. Card number, expiration date, CVV value.
Wow, even the CSV or oh yes, it shows right
CVV.
there. Wow, that is
Yep.
amazing.
So again, for you lazy folks,
Yep.
how's that for?
That's what I need.
Before we go on, let me show you this. So I can get this up on my screen here. Maybe I can't. Trying to bring my, oh, there we go. Maybe that did work. Nope. Okay. If I can fix it, again, new computer, if I can figure out how to get my, oh, thought I had it. Ooh, I'm getting close. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, yep.
Yep.
All right. So this is Quick Assist. If I were to look up that transaction, so I'll look up that card. So let's say, for example, that member did call into the credit union. Hey, why did I just get declined on that transaction? Here's what you'll be able to see. So you come into Quick Assist, click this little button. Mr. Savage, you got declined because of a consumer control setup. Do you need help changing that control? Or do you have access to be able to change that control, or do you need me to change it for you?
Oh, nice. Great.
If they say, hey, can you change it for me? Yep, all you need to do is come into Member Connect and launch My Console. And you'll have the ability to change or update any alert or any control that your member has set up.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Now, when you just
All
showed us that one-time password that you had put in to see your card information, does that clear each transaction, or will it stay there since you authorized it to display?
No, as soon as I exit out of it,
Mhm.
it exits out. And if I tried to go back in to get my card details again,
Yep.
it'll actually,
Ask you again.
if I click done,
Yep.
yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect.
As long as, now, if I were to log out of the application
Mhm.
and go back in, I'd have to get the one-time passcode again.
Okay, great.
Okay, the last thing I want to show you here is the lost stolen process. So again, keeping with our theme of having your members become more self-sufficient, your members now have the ability for both their credit and debit card programs to report their card lost or stolen. So if they click lost stolen, the first thing they do is, hey, when did I lose the card? And say the 1st. Now, what it's going to show here is if I had any transactions after the 1st, it will list those transactions here. And I could actually click those transactions to say, this transaction was fraud or this transaction was fraud. I click next, and it brings me to this little questionnaire. Okay. Now, can you guys see my screen here now with the 3 phones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the process that I was just here, I was just on this screen right here on my phone answering questions about that lost stolen card, right?
Yep.
So for credit cards, this is up and running. So this is how things will work for those credit unions that are using us for credit cards. A member answers the questions on their lost or stolen card. They hit submit, right? They log out of their application and go right back into it. So if they log out of DX Mobile and immediately log back in, they're going to see a brand new credit card within their application.
That is crazy.
Okay. Well, that's not the crazy part. This is the crazy part. So now that I have that brand new card in DX Mobile, I now can do a process that we call push provisioning. I could take that new card, click add to wallet. Now this one says Apple Wallet, but could it easily say Google or Samsung Wallet? And once I press that button, that card is now provisioned in my pay wallets.
Wow.
So what does that mean? It means that I literally just reported my card lost or stolen. That old card is now closed. I already have my new card. It's in my pay wallet. I can go to any merchant now that accepts contactless transactions, and I can start doing transactions on my card within minutes of having it be reported lost or stolen.
That is fast.
And if I want to go shopping online, I just showed you how you can get your card details. That'll work with the new card as well. So now if I wanted to immediately go shopping on my card online, I can do that as well. So this is available for credit right now.
Okay, credit right now.
We're working on debit. Yeah, debit. We will have this solution available for debit as a future initiative.
Oh, great.
But for credit
And-
cards, this is up and running.
And then in regards to the two things you just showed, in regards to saying yes, lost or stolen, or the actual adding it, a new card, those are all optional, correct? So if Credit and Choose is not
Correct.
to allow that. And now can you have one or the other? So you can choose to actually still have the lost and stolen report, but you wouldn't have to add the other option if
Correct.
you did more. Okay, great.
Correct. Okay. So that is the DX mobile solution. I think we ran through pretty much every feature function of that solution. Any questions or thoughts? This is kind of a big deal for us, especially with the digital issuance pieces of it, and being able to provide your members the capability for the solutions they want, and to be able to self-serve on the cards that they have to, again, reduce some of that dependency for having to pick up the phone and call into the financial institution.
That is
pretty
amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a question. If I have a credit card at Chase or whatever bank, is it easy to transfer the balance over to here, to your credit card?
That is a future initiative to be brought into mobile. It's on the online processes. So right now, we kind of have an interim credit card program up and running. That's called Access Point. Balance transfer is in Access Point. We're going to be converting over to DX Mobile. So actually, I can. DX Mobile will have the same look and feel as DX Online, and it will also be part of that. So the answer to your question is yes, it's available on the online processes. It will become available on the mobile process.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mark?
Mark, in regards to the debit card side for the instant issue per se, what's the slotted time frame? Is it this year, first quarter of next year? Is there any time frame that you guys were currently looking at to get that running on the debit side?
At this point in time, we are looking at a 2022 initiative for that. Okay. I don't have a specific date.
Oh gosh, no, just looking time frame, what your goals were.
Mm-hmm. Now again, that's we're in development. And to be quite honest, what we're trying to figure out now on that is, or the challenge that we have is being able to cross-reference the new account to the old account.
Right, because it's not a
we have that ability on the credit card side.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the part we're working on right now.
A little more
and
challenging.
to get that,
yeah. And I know previously we've had the question on disputes per se, in regards to saying, yes, my card is lost and stolen, dispute this particular transaction. That is an option on both sides currently for debit and credit. Okay.
Yep. So there's actually a number of different opportunities that you can do there. So again, there's two different parts of disputes. There's non-fraud disputes, and then there's fraud disputes. Both of those can be done within the application. If you wanted to allow that for credit but not debit, you can do that. If you wanted to allow just fraud disputes and not non-fraud disputes, you can do that. So we can get pretty flexible with how you want that done, but it's all basically a la carte.
Nice. And then does that program, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it enough to know, is there a dollar range that you could limit? So for example, if you were to come in this card and see that there was fraud on your account, but there's like 6 to 10 different $5 charges, you certainly, as an institution, you don't want those type of charges to be disputed, because in most cases you'll eat those based on the threshold and the cost of that particular dispute. Do you know if that program has limits on dollar amount on what you can?
The program, no.
Okay.
PSCU, yes.
Okay. Right.
So
once
let's
it
say, for
goes-
example, your credit union had a threshold of $25. And you said, hey, PSCU, don't process any dispute above $25. If it's under, send it to us. So in the scenario where your member sends in that $5 dispute, we'll collect that information and then route it back to you.
Great. Okay.
We won't mark it.
Nice.
So in essence, it works the same way, but you know, to make it a better member experience,
Exactly. Yeah.
we can do all that behind the scenes.
Great. Yeah. And as you know, disputes get more and more complicated as well as more expensive. So that threshold tends to continue to rise by the time you get.
And again, whatever your threshold is, we can
Right.
accommodate that.
Right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Well, thanks again, Mark, for this insightful information about DX Mobile. If anyone has any other features that you'd be interested in seeing, please let us know. And I want to thank everyone for joining us. And again, this will be recorded. And have a great day.
Thank you, Mark, so much.
Take care. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.